How great is the charm of cats? This man named Ove has attempted to end his own life multiple times. However, after he found this little cat, he finally decided to temporarily put his plans on hold and find a reliable home for the cat first. The next day, a new neighbor approached Ove and asked him to teach her how to drive at an intersection. She stalled her car as soon as she started, and the car behind her honked his horn incessantly, making the neighbor increasingly nervous. Eventually, she decided to give up on learning to drive. Ove couldn't bear it and got out of the car to scold the driver behind them. When he returned, he started educating the neighbor about how she was already a mother of 2 and preparing to have a 3rd child. She had come all the way from Iran, escaping a war-torn region, learning a new language, and adapting to a new life, all while being married to a loser husband. Learning to drive was nothing compared to the other challenges she had faced. With Ove's hardcore encouragement, the neighbor finally didn't give up. On the day the neighbor got her driver's license, her husband accompanied her, leaving Ove to temporarily take care of their 2 children. There was a dishwasher in the kitchen, but the children's father didn't know how to install it. Ove responsibly took care of the 2 children until the couple returned, only to find out that the dishwasher had been installed. The next day, a young man came to deliver newspapers. He was also a resident of the community. Since he always left his bicycle scattered around, Ove confiscated it. What he didn't expect was that this guy used to be Sonia's student. The bicycle was originally intended to be repaired and given to his girlfriend. Ove wanted to handle everything about Sonia properly. He fixed the bicycle and took him to the small shop where the young man worked, only to discover that the so-called girlfriend was actually a boyfriend. Upon returning to the community, a journalist found Ove. She was intrigued by Ove's heroic act at the train station and wanted to write a column about him as an unsung hero. However, Ove turned around and locked the journalist in the garage. A car drove into the community, but Ove was against cars being driven within the community and stopped the driver. It turned out to be an executive from the health insurance company who was rude to Ove and accused him of causing all the misfortunes that had befallen Sonia. Ove became emotionally agitated and returned home. This man made him feel worthless. The neighbor was concerned about him, but Ove stayed silent until she gave up. Ove contemplated suicide again while looking at the hanging ring on the ceiling. He took out his hunting rifle and prepared for the act, but then someone knocked on the door. It was Sonia's student and his boyfriend. The boyfriend had been thrown out by his family after coming out, so they asked Ove if they could temporarily stay with him. Ove couldn't refuse Sonia's student's request. He and Sonia had once had a child together in celebration of their impending birth, and the couple had chosen to travel to Spain. To save money, they decided to take a cheaper bus on the way back. On the bus, Sonia asked him to feel her belly, to feel the baby kicking inside her. A little life is about to be born into this family. Ove couldn't contain his excitement and went to the bathroom to calm down. However, an accident occurred as the bus went out of control and rolled down a cliff. Ove sustained minor injuries, but Sonia had a miscarriage and lost her ability to walk. Upon returning home, Ove knocked down the door sill and lowered the stove and tables to facilitate Sonia's mobility. Sonia later obtained a teaching degree, but no institution was willing to hire a disabled teacher. Finally, one day, she saw a glimmer of hope in a class full of underachieving students that no one else wanted to take on. However, Sonia was still rejected. Ove wrote complaint letters to government, but all he received were rejections. Seeing Ove losing hope, Sonia encouraged him not to give up. That night, Ove went to the school and built a disabled access ramp by himself. Sonia could finally work normally again, and under her guidance, these students became exceptional within a year. She worked so hard, treating them as her own children that she had never had. Until 6 months ago, Sonia passed away from cancer. Ove attempted suicide multiple times again to fulfill his promise of being with Sonia forever. The next morning, Ove was disturbed from his sleep and was invited to breakfast. It was the first time since Sonia's passing that he felt the breath of life. Ove, who used to be a community manager, couldn't shake off the habit of patrolling the community and making sure everything was in order. In another neighbor's mouth, he learned that his old friend was about to be forced away by the health insurance company. The friend's wife had been fighting for 3 years, but this was the outcome. Without hesitation, Ove went to visit him and started contacting various departments to resolve the matter. However, he quickly discovered the incompetence of these officials. He became disheartened, but the neighbor told him he shouldn't give up so easily. It reminded him of his wife's encouragement. When the health insurance company returned, Ove brought the journalist along. The journalist had collected numerous scandals involving this company and warned the executive that if they didn't back off, tomorrow's news headline would be about him. Thus, this group of people sent the profit-driven health insurance company away. Ove's life became more fulfilling, but one day he suddenly collapsed. The diagnosis revealed that it was only an enlarged heart and not a severe condition. Soon after, the neighbor's child was born, and Ove gave them the cradle he had once made for his own child. He enjoyed the warmth of human connection. It felt like his beautiful life had just begun. One snowy morning, the neighbor didn't see Ove come out to shovel the snow. He used to wake up early and start his community patrol at this time. Worried, the neighbor ran over only to find that Ove had peacefully passed away. He was reunited with Sonia once again. Ove had expected this day and prepared a farewell letter. He wanted his funeral to be like his parents' funeral, only inviting a few very close people. However, on the day of the funeral, uninvited guests filled the room. They all thanked Ove's help. Life returned to its usual state, but Ove's spirit continued to endure. This community would be maintained by them. The film is adapted from a novel called A Man Called Ove, and in 2022, a film called A Man Called Otto was also released in the United States based on the same novel. The movie appears to depict Ove's repeated suicide attempts, but it actually depicts Ove's journey from loving only Sonia to loving everyone around him. Ove is stubborn and set in his ways, with a persistent desire for death, but he is like a hedgehog, externally strong and stubborn, but internally very soft. He tirelessly helps those in need around him. The film tells Ove's life through a non-linear narrative technique similar to films like Forrest Gump and Big Fish. There is no substitute for the original movie. A good film is worth watching it yourself. But you don't know where you can watch these movies? Use Superbox. With Superbox, you can access all live TV channels in 4K quality. It also provides access to over 13,000 movies and series, and updates with the newest content very often. The total cost for one of these is 2 months of your cable bill. Then you never have to pay fees or bills ever again. Click the link in my bio and use my code to get it at a better price.